Good evening, Mike the MC, bringing you the self-care video. Today I'm going to share with you Catechism number 76 from the Catechism, just about how do you like to receive the gospel and how do you pass on that message, whether it's through the oral or written traditions, or maybe a bit of both. So this really takes a look at how we are learners in the sense that, hey, we can visually see, we can read about it, or we can even see someone just talk about the traditions of the gospel passed down to us. And do you see that not only from your priest or pastor, but from other people as well in your life? Because this really comes down to anybody who's out there willing to make a difference in the world. That I would just argue that if you want to make a change for people, let's see what you got. Let's see what you believe. So let's put that to the test. So let's get this put to the test. So let's get this started. So here's number 76 of the Catechism with respect to the traditions being passed on to us by the apostles to the generations through various ways. 76 in the apostolic preaching. In keeping with the Lord's command, the gospel was handed on in two ways. Orally, by the apostles who handed on by the spoken word of the preaching, by the example they gave, by the institutions they established, what they themselves had received, whether from the lips of Christ, from his way of life and his works, or whether they had learned it at the prompting of the Holy Spirit. And in writing, by those apostles and other men associated with the apostles, under the inspiration of the same Holy Spirit, committed the message of salvation to writing. And so, there are many ways to consider how to pass on the word throughout the generations of time, whether that is through institutions, by the apostles teaching their followers over time, and then those followers extending past time and over again. And then you got to consider, okay, how many writings had people found that were like treasures, hidden to be found later on? There's a few saints that have hidden their works I can share with you from the Catholic faith that were found by other preachers and priests and people just because they were just in the farm field, whatever, irrigating, and all of a sudden they see this box. This was St. Louis de Montfort. He left his writings in the treasure box for others to see. And because of that, people were wondering, why did he do that? Why did he leave his writings for us to find later in life for us to just now use? But think about it. From his perspective, he was persecuted, not even from his fellow priests. His life was one of turmoil because no one really wanted to listen what he had to say, even though he was a Catholic, and other Catholics liked him, but then some didn't because he was kind of pushing the narrative. See, are we willing to push the narrative to the truth and willing to abide and stand by it? Now, consider this as well. Maybe he also recognized, okay, if no one's going to listen to me right now, the second point, I'll just share this with people in the future who come across this work, just to recognize, hey, I really believe what I taught, what I preached. I'm going to share this with people to find. So if you discover this box of writings, I hope this finds you well and you can still use it to your advantage. And see, what are we willing to share with others in the future? Do we have a time capsule? Do we have something to pass on to families for future generations? I've always wondered that as well, like hiding a treasure box or something like that in my yard for my grandkids, great-grandkids to find, maybe leaving some clues to where they're like, oh wow, Grandpa Sanchez, good job. Grandpa's MC, good job, right? Wherever you're from. And you consider, wow, that was so nice of him to do, but he really cared for us. He really left down something for us to find. That was cool. See, now that is for something from a long future perspective. Okay, what about now? What about the people in your life that preach the gospel? Right, so there's the oral and the written tradition, right? So immediately we look at pastors, we look at priests, we look at people from different faiths who want to extend and share what they believe deep within about the gospel. Now, this is where it becomes a hit or miss, you can argue. How do you feel when they talk to you in this way that of enthusiasm, the way they elaborate? Is it truthful? Does it feel a little, maybe it's showtime? How does it feel to you? Because from your perspective, that is the Holy Spirit telling you, okay, maybe they are telling me something good right now in this moment that I believe, but maybe they are not quite right on the track that I believe it in my way. See, I way my way. See, it makes sense. If I don't understand it the way I understand, then to me, let me move on. Let me move on from this situation and try to find the truth from a different context. And I think we must be willing to change and adapt to find the truth, whether that is from listening to another preacher, following another good priest, following a nun, somebody, right? And this can be beyond the Catholic faith too, because if you consider this, that the Holy Spirit works through everybody, See, this is where it gets tricky, because you could hear someone outside the faith that speaks the truth and you're like, whoa, you're not even Catholic. But that's the thing. And sometimes the cradle Catholics are the ones that have to be stood up to and challenged, because they misunderstood something and they're really taking it to the T and just abusing people in the process. See, a good preacher, a good teacher knows the narrative, but knows how to forgive and love the parish, to move it forward, but in a caring way that doesn't destroy people. Let me say that again. In a caring way that doesn't destroy people. And we just had another saint a few weeks ago. I just remember reading about him and how he was teaching the youth. And this other saint clarified, for someone who knows how to teach the youth, knows how to mind and mold the youthful mind in a healthy way. So if you're able to do that without putting them down, without destroying their belief, their reputation, without destroying their will, see, if you're able to build them up in a healthy, constructive way, there you go. You can argue even from a social work counselor perspective, where is this in the strength-based idea approach? Do they like sports? Do they like to listen about stories on faith, on football, on history, military, right? What is it that they like? And then how can you put your lessons into their strengths, into their cooking, hobbies, gardening, etc.? How can you inspire them through their hobbies to build the youthful mind to grow stronger? And so I know I mentioned earlier in the video, I said, oh, my way, I way, whatever. But when you think about it, it really is from your perspective of I way to know the truth, because I have to understand it the way I do. And if I am going to move forward with my beliefs, okay, I must believe in what I know and build and use those tools as I go forward. Like if I just grab the shovel or the weed cutter and I'm ready now to go cut the weeds, I'm ready to go and do some work because I am prepared to tackle the challenges ahead of me and take on those weeds in my life, and to help people come to understand and know the knowledge of truth. And so I'll take away the weeds from them as well. And so think about it. What are your tools that you have right now at your disposal that you can use to help with the narrative? Are you willing to abide and stand by it? And are you willing to hide a treasure in the future even for those who want to hear about what you've known over time? And so I hope this video finds you well. This is from me, Mike the MC, for the Friday evening video. I hope you all are doing great. And just remember, protect the treasure, and hopefully someone finds it and will put it to good use. All right, everybody. Take care. Have a good one.